If you're somebody who's building AI automations for clients, or maybe you're looking to get into that world, or perhaps you're a developer and you want to build an application for fun for a project, you want to learn how to code more about tech, or you're somebody who's motivated to learn how to code to build an AI micro SaaS that can make you consistently $500 to $5,000 per month, basically on autopilot. If you fall under any one of those categories, I've been in your shoes before. I know exactly how it feels to start from ground zero, Everest Base Camp, and you're looking up at the top, and there's just so much information available on the internet, and it can get extremely overwhelming to know where to start. I'm going to show you how you can leverage APIs, which is probably the most important concept you need to understand. Even if you aren't technical and you're going to hire a developer, you need to know which APIs to pick for your SaaS application or for your no-code make.com or N8N build. Or if you're somebody who actually is building this thing out themselves, you need to know about API arbitrage and how you can leverage this technology to build your app like 50 to 60 times faster and get way better results for your clients or for your future customers. I'm going to talk about API arbitrage. I'm going to give you a very high level overview what APIs are and a little bit of what's going on under the hood, as developers say, the technical side of things. And then we're going to quickly move. Trust guys, we're going to burn through this part. I know, boring, teacher yapping in class, whatever, boo. And then after this, we're going to burn through this, and then we're going to get into building an extremely simple SaaS application that you can deploy on Vercel and have your very own application, leveraging everything that we've talked about in this video with APIs. And you can add it to your resume, publish it on your GitHub, and you can have your very own project up and running. Stop reinventing the wheel, guys. This is going to be something that I'm going to really harp on during this video, because this is what APIs allow you to do. They allow you to kind of shortcut the software production journey as much as possible. Of course, you don't want to cut corners with safety features or with authentication or with important things in your app like that. But APIs are all going to be built by other people. It's the whole point of why we're using them. We're leveraging other people's code to build our apps faster. Pre-written little packages of code that they have developed. That's my nice little bow on top there. Pre-written packages of code that we can send straight into our app, right? This is how this works, guys. So we're not going to reinvent the wheel. Today, the fastest developers use APIs, pre-built tools that handle complex tasks. And basically, these could include things like OpenAI's API, so you can use ChatGPT outside of ChatGPT. And again, we'll get into how this works technically under the hood in just a second. So these days, if you are doing no-code, low-code, AI automation, you're building a SaaS, you need to understand API arbitrage. This is extremely important. Leveraging other people's work to build your thing faster and get to market faster and make money faster. And that's basically it, guys. So we kind of already covered this, but why should you leverage APIs? Why does any of this matter? So guys, speed is absolutely paramount. You can build and launch much faster than your competitors because these days it's getting very competitive. It's very common for multiple people to have the same idea. So then it comes down to who can get to market fast. And of course, whose product is better and is just objectively a better product, right? Because people will gravitate to that over a longer time horizon. But speed matters. You can work on your product, not the boring technical stuff. So you get a boost in focus, right? Focus boost. Because I always like this example. Imagine if you were trying to build a chat application like ChatGPT without using ChatGPT's API or Claude's API or Perplexity's API. You would literally be so fucking in the dumps because that's how hard it would be. You literally just couldn't. The compute and everything that's required to run these models and actually build your own thing is so vastly out of our reach, right? I'm talking, of course, on the level that those models are. You can run a much smaller model easier, but to get quality like that at scale is literally impossible for developers like us. So that's what just buys you back all your focus, knowing that those companies are handling all the heavy lifting. You just need to design a nice UI for your product, a nice UI, and then do marketing. So falling back on an API allows you to do these two things much easier and focus all your time on the stuff that actually matters with your application. Cost efficiency, and everything's looking good. So you need to price accordingly, and you need to know effectively how much per API call you are getting charged. So then you can charge your clients more. And then scalability. All these APIs already handle millions of users, so you don't have to, right? Okay, cool. Next slide. Delete all this. So what is an API? Explained simply. So look at these guys absolutely chefing up in the kitchen over here. So this is basically what APIs do for you. They cook super fire food, and you just get to enjoy it without doing any of the work. It's like hiring a personal chef, basically. So you send a request from your front end of your application, which again, stick around. We're going to be building out an entire app in this video. We're going to get into that, so don't worry. You'll see all of this in practice. So you send a simple HTTP request, which is like placing an order at a restaurant. You tell the server, hey, I want the shrimp linguine. Bring the shrimp over here. And then he goes, tells the kitchen. So server goes and talks to the API. The API processes on its own servers, like the kitchen preparing your meal, cooks up what you're asking for, and then it returns a response, which is typically data in a JSON format. And that's like getting your food back. So the API is basically like the middleman in conducting this request from your network, your local machine, to the server, to the API, and then to wherever the API is getting its information from. And then if this all authenticates and you have your API key and everything is set correctly, this will come back to you. And if something goes wrong here, that's where you get an error. And again, we'll go into all that. Thanks for sticking around, guys. We'll go into all that, I promise. So under the hood, like what does this actually look like, right? So client, just this kind of just what I said, this diagram right here. So the client, which is your machine, it can be your phone, a tablet, a computer. It sends a request to the API. The API sends it to the API server. And then if everything ticks all the boxes it's looking for, the chef's like, dope, sends the shit back to the API. And then it basically just filters its way back to you, the client. And then you're happy and you're super happy and you make money because you can sell this thing. And the API allows you to conduct this process very efficiently. So you don't really have to read this. I don't even know why I put this in. It's basically all the same shit. Under the hood, API acts as a middleman. The API server processes the request. Could be a database, AI system, or another service that does the actual processing. Then the API server sends the response once the request is processed. And again, you get those check marks. Okay, cool. Okay, we all understand that. So where to find APIs? It's a good question. They feel like, to a lot of people who I've done a little bit of coaching or mentoring with, this is generally one of the harder concepts to understand for some reason. As a teacher, as somebody who's been doing this for like 5-6 years, it's sometimes hard to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who doesn't just instinctually get what's happening. But APIs are sometimes a little bit tricky to understand because it feels like they're just up in the air in the clouds and people don't know what they are. So where do you actually locate these APIs? Where do you pin one down so you can leverage it? So Appify is an amazing platform. Appify is where I do most of my API work on Appify right here. Rapid API is also good. Sometimes these give you a slightly more generous free tier. They're always rate limited. So it's like a hard limit of like 100 a month or 50 a month requests to the API. But Rapid API is probably a little bit cheaper than Appify. Appify does good free trials though for each scraper or each API it provides. OpenAI's API, one that I've used heavily. This is a very easy API to interact with, nice to use, and we will be leveraging this in our application. So for payments, Stripe's API, and then there's many, many more. But these two are going to be the marketplaces where you can search hundreds, thousands of different APIs that people have produced and shared for you to leverage. You can think of these like weather APIs, sports betting APIs, stocks APIs, right? So this is where you can locate those things. Then this is the product that we're actually going to be building today, our simple SaaS idea. So we're going to scrape listings. So we're going to use Appify, which I mentioned back here, Appify. We're going to use Appify to scrape Upwork job listings, which is a very common marketplace for freelancers to go on, try to find gigs. Then we're going to send these Upwork job listings. Well, first of all, we're going to display them on our front end of our UI. Then we're going to generate a summary or a potential icebreaker that the person using our software can click generate icebreaker. It'll generate them an icebreaker for the specific job listing that they want. And then it'll send that, and then they'll be able to like copy and paste that icebreaker and click on the URL of the job listing and then immediately send that in. So that's what we're going to do. And then to actually generate the icebreaker, we're going to leverage OpenAI's API to get the quick icebreaker. And then after we build all of this, we're going to, this is a full stack app, right? So it needs a backend, which is going to handle the API calls. And then the front end, which we're going to deploy to Vercel. Don't worry if you don't know what that, we're just going to, I'll show you everything. Don't worry, settle down. Hey, settle down. We're going to deploy to a Vercel front end. So guys, this is an entire MVP or minimum viable product that does one thing, scrapes jobs, generates icebreakers. I mean, that is two things, but we're going to call them one thing that can be built in under a day, solving a problem of finding job listings across Upwork. And then it gets really cool when you combine APIs, which we're not going to do in this video. Well, we are combining these two APIs, but imagine if there was a little toggle on our app where you could scrape LinkedIn jobs or like Indeed jobs. So then now you have one platform where people can go to find job listings from 3 platforms. So it just undercuts all of them and it saves a ton of time. And then you just upcharge for the API cost that you are incurring. So that's it, guys. Thank you for sticking around in my presentation. And now let's actually get into the fun part where we cook up this app idea. So I hope you understand a little bit more about what API arbitrage is, leveraging pre-built code from other developers, plugging it directly into our application. So we just get way more shit done in like half the time, basically. It's awesome, right? So stick around. Let's get into the actual app development. All right, guys, let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump right into it. So first step, hop onto the terminal. I think it's called command line on Windows. Hop onto whatever you have. I'm just going to go CD to desktop, change directory to desktop from our root level, like high level folder, basically. So now we're on my desktop. As you can see, it says desktop right here. Then I'm just going to type in npx create -next -app. Create next app. And then now we can basically call it whatever we want. Actually, we're going to create next app at latest. So we get the latest version of next. And then I guess we'll just call it Upwork, Upwork SaaS. Right. Name can't contain capital letters in Next.js 15, I believe. So we can just go Upwork JavaScript is probably more specific anyway. Probably makes more sense. Okay, so we're not going to use TypeScript. So now it's basically asking us what packages it wants, or we want it to install for us. ESLint is good. So we have cleaner code, Tailwind, that's what we want. Source directory, we want to use app router. We don't need TurboPack, and we don't need the import alias. Or customizing the import alias. We don't need any of that. So now it's just spinning it up from the app template right here. It's installing these dev dependencies, the ones that we all laid out, React, React DOM, and Next for just the regular dependencies. So now we can hop into Windsurf. In my case, I would recommend Windsurf. Maybe you have Cursor. Maybe you have VS Code, whatever it may be. Hop into your code editor. We're going to go to desktop, and now we have Upwork Job Scraper right here. Open this bad boy up, and voila, we've spun up a Next.js project with, my humble opinion, the best tech stack you can basically use to spin up quick apps right now. Okay, so now we have a couple more things to install that didn't come pre-packaged in the Next.js app. So we need to go npm install Daisy UI. This is the UI package that we're going to use to style the app. It basically just comes with like nice components, buttons, checkboxes, anything we'll need to actually give the user a good experience on our app. and style our front end. Next, we're going to npm install at supabase/supabase-js. We're going to use Supabase as our backend database to store user info. Next, we're going to npm install Appify-client right here. So basically we can leverage Appify via the command line and not have to go into their app, their web app, to use their services. Because after all, we are trying to perform a little bit of API arbitrage here and actually leverage their technology through the API, which we can do programmatically through code. So now we're going to create a file in our root directory, and we're just going to call it .env.local right here. This is where we're going to store our API keys. So these are the 3 keys we will be utilizing here. We have our next public Supabase URL, next public Supabase anonymous key, and then our Appify API token. And I'll show you all how to get those in just a second here. Okay, guys, so now let's just set up our database integration here using Supabase. So we're going to go to our source directory, and then we're going to click this icon right here, new folder, and then create a new folder called lib, L-I-B. Then within that one, click on new file and create a file called supabase-client.js. Then in here, we're going to need to import the module first. We can go import create client from Supabase, from @supabase/supabase-js right there. So we can add that. It's grayed out right now because our code is not calling it. Its value is declared, but never read. Then down below this, we are going to say const Supabase URL equals process.env.next public Supabase URL. And we need to confirm if that is exactly what we called it in here, next public Supabase URL. So those match, which is very important. And then the Supabase anon key down below, we're going to do this exact thing right here. And then we are going to say export. So basically what we've done here is we've imported our module, create client right here. We've referenced our API keys, or I should say our Supabase URL, and then our anon key, so that our project can talk to Supabase and use this create client module here to actually create our client in the backend, so that when somebody signs up, we can save them to our Supabase database. And then we're exporting this function right here called Supabase, and then at create client, and we're going to reference the 2 keys right here. So now basically in any other part of our code, we can reference Supabase and it will know that it's for the create client, and then we reference our API keys here. So everything is going to work. We're just kind of slowly linking everything together basically. Okay, now let's go to app. Let's create a new directory called API within app. Make sure it's within app right here. Actually, let me go to Supabase right quick right here. Make an account if you don't have an account. Upwork job scraper, and then database password. We can just suggest a password right here. Use strong password. We'll copy this quick, create a new project. Boom. Nice. Now, the first thing I like to do is go to authentication right here, then go to sign in/up. Go down to email. It's the only one enabled right now, but as you can see, we have all these other sign in auth providers that we can use. And it's awesome that they give us that many options. So, but we're just going to focus on email. So we're going to disable confirm email, then make sure to hit save down here. So basically that just means that users won't have to actually confirm their email. Like once they sign up, they'll get an email at the email that they signed up with, and it'll just say, click this link to confirm your email. I'm sure you've done this. I'm sure you can relate. It's just a little bit annoying. It's an extra step that we don't want our users to have to take. So we're just going to disable that, make it easier. Then if we go back to our project overview right here, you can see our project API settings. Your API is secured behind an API gateway, which requires an API key for every request. So our app will use these API keys, right, to make requests to our server. If it authenticates and it's like, okay, this API key exists in this project right here, and the URL matches, then it will retrieve the information that we want it to using a post, a get, a put, or a delete. And then it will pull that information back and shove it into our app, basically. So copy the project URL here. Let's head back into our .env.local, Supabase URL, wham, paste it right in there. We need this in, believe we need this in quotes. I could be mistaken, but I believe we do. And then next public scope is a non-key. So here's our non-public key right here. Copy and paste that right in there. Cool. And then we'll get our Appify API token in just 1 second here. Now in our API folder right here, we can create a file called route.js. This is typically what all the API routes are called, hence the name route.js. So this is going to be our code that we're going to build out together to actually call our Appify API. So if we're going over to Appify and we go to this Upwork job scraper right here, which is the one that we're going to use, then we go to API and go to API clients, we can see that this Node.js client right here is exactly what we're going to want to use. So we're basically using this code as it is with a couple changes in order to protect our API key on our front end right here, just following some best practices of development basically. But you have this code right here, which is super handy. And you can literally just copy and paste this into ChatGPT and be like, add my .env file to this code. But I'll show you how to do it in this one. But it's just very easy in here. Copy it and do whatever you want with this code. So this is the code we're going to leverage here. So in settings on Appify, you have your token right here. So we can just grab this token. Let me just paste it in .env.local here. Okay, so I pasted it all in there. And I've gone ahead and added comments to our code here. Again, this is something that I will just go over briefly because the whole point of this project is for you to just get a sense of how to leverage these tools using the more like general frameworks that I'm trying to give you here. Use Appify or Rapid API, pick an API, you go through this exact process, you ask ChatGPT a bunch of things, you spin up a Next.js app using JavaScript, not TypeScript, so you don't have to you don't have to worry about like configuring your types. You get a bunch of errors with TypeScript all the time. And if you're not developing with a team, it's oftentimes even more beneficial to just use JavaScript by yourself as a solo developer. So this is our code here. We are going to import our next response from the server. This is a way that it can chat with the API. Then Appify client from Appify client. If you remember, we did npm install Appify client. So this is actually bringing that functionality. And if we look at our package.json right here, we can see Appify client. This is the version of Appify client we have right here, 2.12.0. So this is bringing it in right here. Then we have export async function get. So we're performing a get request and like to our API endpoint because we're not posting anything, but we're not sending data. We're asking the API for data. So it's a GET request. So initialize the Appify client with your API token from environment variables. This code will be in the description this code will be on my GitHub as well, by the way, guys. So you can just use this as a template, do whatever you want with it and follow along. So initialize the Appify client. So if we go back to the Appify code, you can see, if we go back, Appify API clients. So you can see in their version of the code, we have client equals new Appify client, and then you paste your token directly into the query right here. Now this is bad practice because somebody who's a little bit more knowledgeable about these systems could potentially have the capacity to reverse engineer this and get our token and then abuse it. So common sense, we kind of don't want that, right? So then if we go back and compare that with our code right here, you can see it's const client equals new Appify client, which is the exact same line. I keep doing this in Windsurf. Does anyone else do that? It's so annoying. Const client equals new Appify client. Then token is process.env, referencing our .env.local, .appify API token. And again, the name must match. Appify API token, it must match. Then from here, we're preparing the input for the actor. Now this is basically the exact same, right? I didn't change this too much at all. So we are setting a variable called input. So this is actually a JavaScript object down below right here. And you'll notice it's not too different from the code that they have. Prepare actor input, const input, search queries, proxy configuration, Appify proxy groups. So This is called an object in JavaScript. And all that means is that it's denoted with these curly braces right here. And there's key value pairs in here. So search queries is the key. And then the value is full stack developer. Then we actually have another object in here, proxy configs, and then Appify groups is the key, and this and residential is the value right here. Now, eventually we will be changing this because we are going to want to dynamically query the API with information that the user asks for. So when we build out our front end, it's going to connect to this search queries right here. Then this is going to be a variable like user input or something, and user input will be exactly what the user requests. So the search queries, instead of full stack developer, maybe they want like plumbing, right? So that will pop into there, and then we'll get like plumbing jobs. You get what I mean, right? So that's something we will have to do eventually. Then we have a try catch block right here. So it's going to call the actor and wait for it to finish basically. So this is the actor ID. If we go back here, we can like see it correlates to the actor ID. Await client.actor, and then it references the actor so it knows which one to call. And then our input is what is up here, right? So it's calling our input and it's passing our input as a value to this call. And then we need to fetch the items from the actor's data set. It's just something that Appify has. You need to call the data set or need to call the actor. It gets the shit you want, and then it brings it in. But if you don't actually fetch the results from the actor's data set, then you don't get anything displayed. And that's obviously like, there's no point, right? So we're going to items right here is await client.data set, and then it's going to list the items basically. Excuse me. And then we're returning JSON using the next JS13 response helpers. Boom. And then we have a console error, and it's going to throw an error on our UI in case we fuck something up and the API doesn't like us, or we go over a rate limit, or we run out of credits, or there's many reasons why we could get an error. So then if we move into actually configuring our front end right here, if we go into source app, we'll see page.js. So this is going to be our kind of gateway to our front end. So it's going to be our landing page right here. So if we run in our terminal npm run dev right here, we can see it's spinning something up for us right here. Okay, guys, so honestly, I found the best way to create a really nice landing page if you aren't using a tool like Framer or some like really, really nice landing page builder is just to go into our page.js, right? This is our standard one that we get with a deploy to sell button, everything that Next.js provides natively, and reference it in Windsurf by going at page and then choosing the correct one. And then you can read my prompt here, right? So we need a basic sign in, sign up button that redirects to a login or a sign up route so it'll create those routes within our app directory. And then those routes will just go to a basic email password form, and then the user will authenticate and go into our backend database. And it knows that because we've connected it to our API keys here, and we've set up our Supabase client. So it knows how to kind of link those things up, and basically just giving it details on what you want it to look like. Modern, minimal, nice, clean gradient, and just a beautiful looking landing page that a developer would be proud of, right? Guys, this is like literally the easiest way to do this, in my opinion, that I've found personally. It just created our login directory right here with another page.js, and now it's creating the sign up page. So now you'll see a sign up folder get made over here. You'll hear me toss around directory and folder interchangeably, means the exact same thing. And now you can see we have sign up with another page.js in it with all of our stuff in here. So it's absolutely beautiful. Again, guys, all this code will be on my GitHub in a public repository. One of the links in the description. Now it's asking us if we want to run the server again. I'm just going to say no because it's already running in our other terminal right here. So it looks okay, so it didn't do a good job at all. So I'm going to go full page. It's a really nice extension that allows you to take a full page screenshot. So you can see it right here. If I just copy the image and then paste it into here, and I'll say, I need you to analyze this image because this is what our landing page looks like right now. It looks absolutely terrible. I think you are not using the dependencies that we've set up within Tailwind. Actually, I'm just going to reference these within tailwind.config.js. And then also at, so since I can't be bothered to go in there manually, figure out why the icons are absolutely massive and what's going on, I just said reference tailwind config and look at the package JSON and make sure that you are styling correctly with the proper dependencies like Daisy and Tailwind that we've set up natively in the app. So it says, I see the issue. We're not properly utilizing Daisy UI components and themes. So hopefully my prompt has worked and it's just going to one-shot this and get it working and make it look absolutely beautiful. But with these AI coding tools, you know, there's always like random issues and things that it doesn't do well. So oftentimes you need to go back and reprompt. But I find setting up my API routes and my logic myself to be nice, and then letting the AI do the front end is like beautiful as well. But of course, if you wanted to and just take the frameworks and the API arbitrage concept that I'm showing you in this video, you could literally just one-shot Cursor or Windsurf all by yourself and like literally replicate this all in one, basically. Cool. So now if we go over to page.js in our app folder right here, you can see that the AI has finished its run right here, and it is updated absolutely everything. So you can see Upwork Scraper, it's updated it with the correct copy of like what our app's about. Login, sign up. It's created the login and sign up folders right here with code that like create account, the buttons, and things that will hopefully redirect us to like redirect this to, what am I saying? Supabase, right? Like, so it creates the account appropriately in here. So let me have a look at these pages actually, because I haven't looked at them. So this is what it looks like right here. Start scraping free, login, sign up. Nice little hover animations on these. One click apply. Like some of this isn't true, right? But if we click start scraping free, yeah, we have quite a nice modal right here. It's actually not bad. The page looks fine now. Now the issue is that when we do login or sign up, it's not actually referencing our Supabase. So current best practices for Supabase are to create this utils file, which has client, middleware, and server in it. So this is going to create a server client. This is going to create a client side client. And then the middleware is basically the thing that checks if there's cookies and then gets the users. So this is kind of a protection layer that will filter our responses just to be like more accurate, more safe, and much better in the first place. So you can see we have Windsurf over here editing our page to actually link these actions with our login and sign up components right here. This works great. You can give it access to documentation as well by typing @docs. And they have a lot of different kinds of docs loaded up on here. LangChain, Stripe API docs, Tailwind docs. It's very, very cool. The team is doing really good work over there. So now we can actually go and check if this is working. All right, so I just made a little commit to Git right here. The AI also did some pretty shit updating of some of our components in here, I'm going to be honest. So our dashboard, sorry, I'm eating some spicy pasta right now. It's really hot, actually. So basically, it just wasn't styling things as I wanted. So I had to go in here and actually handwrite some of the Tailwind styles for some of our classes here. However, what it did do very good is it added our, where is it here? It added this searching for jobs and then search for jobs to see results here. So it added like all of our placeholders really well and our labels, and it added some nice like boxes to check it out. So like, you know, if I sign out right here, let me just show you what this looks like. I get taken back to login, which isn't redirecting like amazing right now. But if I just go joe@gmail.com, put the password in, logging in. So again, it didn't do this very well because I should be able to just go straight to dashboard. But I have access to the dashboard route right here, whereas somebody who isn't authenticated in our database would not be able to access it. And you can see in our database, I have Joe and then Eli. So it's logging our information correctly in our backend, which is cool. Excuse me. So if I go UI Or if I just go like AI developer and hit search right here. Okay, cool guys. So I typed in AI developer right here. And this first one, ad creative strategist, like not that related to the AI developer search query I added, but that's fine. Developer to build a RAG pipeline using GPT-4 Claude 2. That is very in line with what we're looking at. Development, convert Excel, create an app, Facebook ads video editor. So it gets us ads, but they aren't like necessarily perfect, which is all down to the quality of this because our search query is, well, just that. It's very specific. And this is not producing results that are really worthy of 25 bucks a month, it would seem. That's how much the cost is to rent this. But with that being said, we still have jobs and it's still working. So now you can see basically the process of signing in, like having a landing page, signing in, authenticating. That information gets saved to the backend database. In this case, we're using Supabase. And then you can come into here, hit search. Now, remember, guys, this is exactly the pipeline that we talked about previously. So this is the exact pipeline that we talked about previously. So what's happening is you have our database, or sorry, you have our local machine, which is, what we're on right now. And then it's sending information to the API. I'm all over the place. And then that is going to the server. And then the server's like sick because we have our everything we need in here. Where is it at? .env.local, because we have our Appify API token, we have our public Supabase and on key, and we have all of our shit. So it's like cool, and we're making correct requests, and then it sends the data back to us for us to populate our UI, which is everything you're seeing down here, right? So that is exactly what's happening right now. So this is a way that you can do that. So now, guys, just imagine if you have a LinkedIn job scraper, an Upwork job scraper, like a Facebook job scraper, all these different things packaged into one, and you have different little toggles up top that users could switch between, then that is getting into the territory where it's like, okay, people might pay for this, right? Because it's like the full package. It saves them time from going to 3 websites. They can just go to 1. And yeah, guys. So that's kind of it here. Now, again, our auth and our redirection to the dashboard is a little bit laggy. It's not working perfectly. I may fix it. I may not. I might just get lazy. I might just push it to GitHub. Again, guys, GitHub will be in the description. If I didn't fix it, you just type in dashboard in the URL after you authenticate and set up your Supabase connections in here, which you just have to do. I will include all these variables, but I will just remove my keys, obviously. And then that's it, guys. And then you have a full blown app right here with all of the Supabase client credentials. We have our layout.js right here, which actually constructs our page. Then we have our actual page.js, which has all the shit on it. Sign up, auth, actions, which create clients and stuff. We have middleware that can actually protect our routes better on top of Next.js middleware. So it can just figure out who's authenticated, who's not, query our database, and get all of the information we need to actually figure this out, guys. So that's the tutorial. That's it. We have an app that kind of does what we said it does. Apologies for not going into the OpenAI integration here, where we include a button that goes like apply, and then OpenAI would write us an icebreaker based on the skills we provide. That could be video number 2. I have a prior commitment tonight that I forgot about that I need to get off to. My friend just got a new apartment, so I need to help him kind of sort some stuff out, move a couple things in, maybe even have a couple beers there, hang out. So with that being said, guys, If you followed along or clone the GitHub repo and you modify this and roll with this, tag me in shit on Instagram, X. If you post a YouTube video with this, let me know. This wasn't the cleanest code I've ever written, and the AI kind of didn't help. It wrote some kind of weird stuff in there. So take it with a grain of salt, but all the core concepts still apply here, guys. This is like exactly what any app does, picks a framework, chooses some APIs it wants to use, and then designs their front end and their back end and their auth, chooses a database. All these concepts remain constant across whatever project you're working on, whether it's for a client, whether it's for yourself. I can promise you guys, these are all skills that are very beneficial moving forward into 2025, 26, 27. That will be even more in demand next year and even more in demand the year after. I believe there will even be more demand for developers once people realize how easy it is to get involved with AI, and business owners go, oh, we can build like a client-facing portal super easy now. Okay, well, I still don't know how to build it, so I need to hire somebody to build it. So guys, the world's your oyster. You guys got this 100%. So thank you for watching. And again, apologies if this was maybe a little bit lower quality. My mind was kind of elsewhere, to be honest, which happens sometimes. Sometimes you're not in the game fully. But anyway, love you guys. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you in the next one.